about the spirit of Advent, just to start out, that this is not just Christmas done 5 Sundays in a row. What Advent is all about is this exactly what we sang in the first congregational song this morning when we say, "O come, Emmanuel." And of course, Emmanuel means God with us. And so the message that we hear during this season is, and in the brokenness of this world, in the brokenness of our lives, in the brokenness of all that we see, God, we are so thankful that you came and you sent your Son, and you've promised to come again. And in the meantime, we ask that you come and live in each of us so that we can be used by you to be peace bringers to this world. And we began with we borrowed Motel 6's tagline last week about what it means we talked about what it means to leave the light on. What it means to leave the light on. Everybody's welcome. And we read from Luke 15 where it began with these verses. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to Jesus to teach. This made the Pharisees and teachers of the law complain that he was associating with such sinful people and even eating with them. As I read this again and sort of pondered it this week one more time, I couldn't help but observe the irony of this whole thing. Here we have the sinners are listening and the religious people are complaining. Think about that. That's ironic, isn't it? Is that the way it should be? I think the verbs are pretty revealing this morning. The leaders are so upset they can't even say Jesus' name. Notice they say this, in another text it says, "This man is even eating with sinners." They don't even say Jesus' name. Have you ever been so mad that you couldn't say a person's name or even look at them? That's kind of what was going on. This guy welcomes anybody. He has no standards. And with all the complaining by these very, very, very powerful people, it sets up this incredibly dramatic scene. And the question is, will Jesus back down to these powerful people? Will he say, "Oh, you're right. Maybe I did go a little overboard with this welcoming thing. I recant"? But no, we know that Jesus didn't do that. Instead, he told us 3 stories. First 2 are very short. Man has 100 sheep, and he loses one, he finds it, and he celebrates. Second story, a woman loses a coin. She lights a lamp, she searches it and finds it and throws a party and rejoices when she finds it. And the listeners understand the meaning of these stories. They're pretty clear. They can relate to the lost lamb and the lost coin. And when Jesus found them, he throws a party, and that sounds amazing. I think Jesus is boldly saying with these first 2 stories, I'm not apologizing for accepting these people. It's my greatest joy and God's delight to be with people who know they need God, who will humble themselves and will allow me to come alongside them and work on their lives and work in their lives. I am leaving the light on for them. I'm leaving the light on for them. And I think Jesus gets even bolder with his next story, because it's a story about the younger son. We talked about this last week, who demanded his inheritance from his father, something that was just absolutely disrespectful in those days. And he blew it on wild living. He hit bottom. He formulates a plan to come back and be a hired hand for his father. But before he could get home, Dad embraces him with open arms and throws a party. This is the prodigal son. This is the younger brother. This is the part of the story we absolutely love to tell. It's the part where pastors get a chance to preach on this. This is where we go every time, pretty much, because this is great stuff. Many of us maybe can even connect with this younger son's character. Yet, I think the boldest part of the story, the most dramatic moment comes in the second part of this parable. Let's read this together, beginning with verse 25. It says, after the younger son had come home, it says, meanwhile, the older son was in the fields working. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house, and he asked one of the servants what was going on. Your brother is back, he was told, and your father has killed the fattened calf, and we are celebrating because of his safe return. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. His father came out and begged him, but he replied, all these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing you told me to do. And all that time you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet when this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf. His father said to him, look, dear son, you've always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead, and he's come back to life. He was lost, and now he's found. There's a fun story about a Sunday school teacher who was teaching this parable, and she was teaching it to her kids, and she was trying to get to the second part of the story, and she asked the question, so kids, there was one for whom the return of the prodigal brought no rejoicing, no laughter, and only resentment and bitterness. Who was it? And one kid raised his hand and said, the fattened calf. The fattened calf. He sort of got the raw end of the deal on this one now. So, I'm the older brother in a family of 4 boys. And we older ones contend that the younger brothers and sisters always had it a lot easier. And they do. Okay, we older ones have to blaze the trail, we have to set the standard, we have to do all the heavy lifting. Mom and Dad are much more flexible with the younger ones. That's the way it always works. We don't get nearly to have the fun. It's all hard work, and it's always uphill both ways. We should get more respect and appreciation. So, have you ever felt a little indignant? A little bit smug because you're not getting the appreciation you earned, or people are just not seeing the point that's so obvious to you? Oh my goodness. Well, older brother comes in from working in the fields and hears the sounds of the party, and it must have been a big one. It must have been a big party. Perhaps the whole village was invited. They even killed the fatted calf. But it says the older son didn't go inside immediately. Why didn't the older son go inside? He asks the servant, what's going on? Your little brother came home. The older brother became very angry. He resented his younger brother, and now he resents his father too. Little bro broke all the rules. He broke all the rules. No exceptions for anyone. Remember what Jesus says after the lamb and the coin are found. There's great joy. There's great joy. They dance and sing and party and they celebrate. Jesus says, I tell you the same way there will be a rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents. But older brother says, I'm not dancing and I'm not singing and you can't make me. No rejoicing here. He's going to sit outside on the porch and disgrace his dad by not coming into the party in front of all these guests. Yeah, he was filled to the brim with resentment, wasn't he? Filled to the brim. It's kind of a strange thing, isn't it? How at first resentments, feels like it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. When you rehearse how you're going to act, it gives you a feeling of righteous pleasure. It makes you feel, wow, what a victim of mistreatment I have been. I'm going to show them a thing or two. And so older brother sits out on the porch. There's a guy that sat out on a porch. Says, I'm not even listening to music. I'm not going inside. Let them all sing. Let them all dance. None of them know I'm the one who was victimized here. Now, at first glance, it seems like the father is the one who would be the most hurt, by the older son's actions. Excuse me. But look deeper. Because, you see, resentment is an insidious killer. When we don't forgive, when we hold on to resentment, it's us who grow distant. And it's us who become more alone. It's us who demonize the other person 10 times the situation in our minds. And eventually, an unforgiving heart grows cold and cynical and even bitter. The same thing happens when we don't ask for forgiveness, even when we think we are 98% right. 98%. All of us have been there at one time or another. None of us are perfect in this one. All of us need the grace of Jesus, the grace of the cross. We need God's help to let go of resentments and our feelings of self-righteousness. We need grace every single moment of every single day. It occurs to me that some of us might be joining Clint out on the porch. We might be figuratively sitting out on the porch this morning, right now. That resentment and self-righteousness are festering inside of us, and somebody cheated us on a deal, somebody did you wrong, so your boss is unfair, somebody did not live up to your expectations, somebody's hurt you, some friend has not done what you want. And little by little, the joy and peace and patience and grace are being bled out of your heart. It'll kill your heart, folks. It'll kill your heart. I've let it do it to me before, sadly enough. A church with self-righteous older brothers and sisters just will not work. And it's just bad team chemistry too, isn't it? We may need to do some hard work on the relationship challenges where we are finding it hard to forgive, but the question is today, will we let it go? Will we allow God to forgive? Or on the other side especially, will we allow God to will we allow God to prompt us to ask for forgiveness? Don't let it bleed the joy and peace right out of life. Even if you've been hurt, there's so much better life-giving ways to work on reconciliation and hurt. Verses 29 and 30, the older son said, "All these years I've slaved for you, never once refused to do a single thing you told me. And in all that time you never gave me even one young goat for a feast with my friends. Yet this son of yours comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes, and you celebrate by killing the fattened calf." The next thing that happens is the one feeling righteous starts spinning the story according to what's going on in his brain and distorting the truth. "Father, I have worked like a slave for you in your business. I have never disobeyed you. I have kept the rules. I have kept my rules, at least." Can you say that truthfully? He's perfectly kept the rules? No. He has this sense of superiority, and now the real feelings of his heart are pouring out. His heart has not been right for a long time with regards to even his father. The older brother says, "Father, that big party you're throwing, that's with my money. That's with my inheritance. That's my fattened calf out there." Really? Is it? Inside his heart, the older brother is thinking, little brother got to go away, have all that fun, and I stayed home and slaved away with dad. And now what do I get for all of this? Well, we know resentment and complaining are rotten ways to live. And the opposite is grace, isn't it? I needed grace when I first became a Christian, and I need God's free gift of grace every day to live. Grace is the fuel by which each of us live. I need it every moment. I need to remember every day that God loves me. I need to be reminded of how true that is and how much I need that love. It's not about earning God's love. It's about serving and extending forgiveness to others who don't deserve it any more than I do or you do. The father responds to his son, "Son, do you not realize that to live at home with me, to exchange love with me, to share all things with me, to walk together through life. These are the greatest gifts I have to give you. What I've been offering to you all these years is not the land, and not the house, and not the money, and the clothes, and the ring, and the calf. Don't you see? It's me. It's me. If living at home is not enough, then all the parties and all the property in the world will never satisfy you. Every time your brother gets some attention, every time something else gets celebrated, every time somebody else gets some stuff, you're going to resent it. You see, this Father is infinitely gracious, but He's also infinitely firm. He will not stop the party. He will not stop the party. He does not give the elder son that power. This brother of yours was lost and found. Notice he says, this brother of yours. He doesn't say his name. Not even this son of mine. He says, this brother is yours. This brother of yours. Older son, you're still in the family. It's not too late. You have a choice. You can live as my beloved son, or you can choose the resentment route. I'm leaving the light on for you too. The light's on for you too. There is silence. And the father looks into the eyes of the older brother. What does he see? Does he see burning coals of anger? Or does he see sorrow and a broken heart and a spirit of reconciliation? You see, I think all of Jesus' listeners are caught up in the drama of this story right now. This is an extraordinary story when you think about it. One son who was lost and came home. Another son who came home and seems to be even more lost. And this incredible moment, this unbelievably gracious and yet very firm father who's talking to them both. They're all waiting to see what's going to happen next. The spiritual losers who are listening to Jesus very intently, they're saying in their hearts, listen to Jesus. I was that lost sheep. I was that lost coin. Excuse me. I was that lost boy, and I'm home. Jesus has accepted me. And the self-righteous bunch that are listening, the rest of the listeners, are livid and they're ready to kill Jesus. And the father says, we have to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and now he's alive again. He was lost and now he's found. What does the elder brother do? How does he respond? And here's the brilliance of Jesus in this story. He never finishes it. He never finishes the story. Think about that. I'm sure he could have thought of an ending. That's not the issue. Why didn't he finish the story? Well, at least how I'm looking at it this morning, how I think the reason Jesus didn't is that I think everybody listening to Jesus would have to decide, or has to decide, how it ends. Because you see, the story is really about us, isn't it? It's about me, and I think it's about all of you too. The story will end in one of two ways. The elder brother could turn away from his father. He could return to the field. He could work in coldness and bitterness of heart. He could do his work, follow the rules, toe the line, grow to hate his brother and the father a little bit more each year. And when he dies as a very bitter person. The family could be so much more blessed if he would swallow his pride and realize how blessed he is. Or maybe it ends like this. The elder brother has his hard heart broken. And his pride is broken, and he weeps and asks his dad to forgive him. He goes to his little brother who's looking very unhealthy after his time away in a distant land. This was his only little brother. They used to build Legos together as kids and play football in the backyard. Think about that. His softened heart is now exploding with the love and how grateful he is for this little brother who had grown up with, and now he's come around. Now he's come around. How terrible would it have been if I would have lost my little brother? Forever lost. And now he's more than happy to share so that his brother can start all over. He joins the party and he laughs louder and he cries too. And he sings longer and he dances faster and he cries harder than anyone else. And he is still celebrating right now. So how does the story end for you? And how does it end for me this morning? The light is on for all of us younger brothers and older brothers alike. Everybody is welcome. Nobody is perfect in this whole thing. So folks, Jesus says, don't choose bitterness. Don't choose bitterness. Let Jesus be the one to heal your broken heart. Let Jesus be the one to heal your bitter heart. Pray with me if you would.